Well, it's been a long day one, but we're ready to put a cherry on it. Our last series of the day going to be Team Liquid taking on TongFu, another East versus West matchup, and really it's been quite a grab bag in terms of those matchups so far here today. Dignitas taking the bad end of it, then all of a sudden bouncing back and showing us something impressive in our last series. LGD falling 0-2 to Dignitas, and Liquid certainly going to be looking to carry the North American flag just as proudly as they take on TongFu, a team we've already seen twice today, and who has looked unbelievably impressive in their showing so far today as well, doing such a good job putting themselves in a great situation to come out with a high seed out of this group stage. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers, joined for live commentary and analysis as always by Draskell, and really looking forward to this. We haven't had a chance to see Team Liquid in a while, and at least I haven't anyway. But TongFu going to be quite the test for this team, a team who's still looking to kind of find their groove again.
Team Liquid's turn to pick.
And it sounds like my buddy Draskell is not going to be here, so reckon it might have to be a solo cast at least for a little while. But anyway, back to Team Liquid. I mean, Team Liquid's one of those teams who has been so hot and cold, so up and down. They have seemed like an unassailable juggernaut at times. I can remember when they were on a gigantic run not long ago. But in the end, since G1 really, since punching their ticket to Shanghai in the G1 Live LAN Finals, they've really kind of just struggled to find that same kind of groove they showed as they tore through the Western qualifier then. And again, TongFu just a team that has quietly become respected and feared by teams East and West alike. And, having talked to Draskell before, Draskell, letting me know, he's having spoken to some members of LGD International in particular who say that TongFu is just one of those teams that doesn't get as much pub or as much press as some of the other big names such as IG, LGD, so on and so forth. But they have become a team that almost everyone says they're not exactly a team you want to sleep on. They're a team that should be feared as much as those big names, and a dark horse for sure coming into this tournament. I think most would identify them as a team who's has a very high probability of making it through into the top 8, but really, based on what we've seen out of them here today, it would be equally not surprising if they managed to sneak their way through the winners bracket and finish even better. So looking at the band so far, Darkseer and Shen taken out by Team Liquid. No IO or OD going to be allowed in by TongFu. They're going to go ahead and grab that duo core that we've seen them run to great success already, and a combination that is becoming extremely popular, the Dragon Knight and the Lifestealer. The two heroes just complement each other extremely well. Dragon Knight, while he's building his items, just tanks up, and the way I always describe Dragon Knight is he's a carry, of course, he serves that function, but much more he's an anchor hero. He just tends to manage the fights with his skill set, with his abilities. Dragon Tail, not the longest cooldown, of course, his ulti, very powerful, especially once he hits level 16 and gets level 3 Elder Dragon form. And at that point, he just kind of he sets the flow and the pace of a team fight because he's so hard to bring down. He's always a priority target, but the way that he can shape a fight just through his movements, his focus firing, and so on and so forth, makes him a great hero to put into a lineup with an alternative source of DPS, like, for example, a Lifestealer. Lifestealer single target physical DPS. It is a little bit, the weakness of the hero is that he tends to, for lack of a better way, just blow his wad early. Whenever he uses rage, he wants to get in, blow a target up with open wounds, use Infest to get out of trouble if he does get into trouble, then re-engage later when everything's off of cooldown. So having that anchor hero to fight alongside, to be that big #1 bullseye target in a fight, tends to take a lot of pressure off of him. And the Dragon Knight, really, when you talk about the items that he needs, just treads and BKB can make him extremely hard to deal with, so long as, again, he does have a couple of things to complement him in his lineup, namely big initiation or big AoE magic damage. One of the two is usually going to work well with him. You can also put him into spam lineups that have say, like a Windrunner with Power Shot. Dragon Knight's Breathe Fire plus a Windrunner's Power Shot can just melt down secondary supports without a second thought. So TongFu certainly wide open. Liquid very happy to go ahead and grab the Bane. The Batrider and the Bane are actually really nice pickups here for them. Batrider obviously a single target initiator, while Bane, his entire skill set just really allows him to cause problems the entire game to any melee physical damage dealers. Now, granted, Dragon Knight does become more of a ranged hero because he does always fight, or try to always fight at the very least, with his dragon form up. But Lifestealer, Yeah, certainly shut down by him. And you can help deal with the Dragon Knight simply by spending Enfeeble on him and then nightmaring a secondary target and then trying to Fiend's Grip the Lifestealer. So that's something of which TongFu is going to have to be very conscious. A lot of it comes down to positioning. The Bat Rider, of course, with his lasso going through Magic Immunity, does counter them as well. Both heroes with their own Magic Immunity. Dragon Knight will almost always, as a second or third item, want to be rushing a BKB. Sometimes you'll see him go something like Bottle Treads straight to BKB. I actually really like that kind of a pickup, especially when you have him with a second core like a Lifestealer. Or you occasionally a Shadow Blade if you just want that extra bit of damage, if you're not that worried about the team's lockdown or the enemy team's ability to handle you. But really, that could be the case here. Skipping the BKB, going straight for the Shadow Blade could make a ton of sense because Bane and Bat Rider both have abilities that go through Magic Immunity. The Fiend's Grip Enfeeble also works through Magic Immunity so long as you get it off before the BKB is utilized. The Bat Rider then with the lasso. So TongFu going to go ahead and add the Nyx Assassin in. That's going to be more nice for single target physical DPS, so a team composition that already very interested in fighting right off the bat. And Liquid now probably about to show us a bit more of the complexion of their lineup and how they want to play this out. Do they want to go something that's hard farming? Gyrocopter, a hero they particularly love. We haven't seen as much Gyro lately. He's just kind of fallen off for one reason or another. Doesn't get picked or banned nearly as much, but that's a hero that TC in particular loves to play, and Team Liquid knows how to build a lineup around them. And nope, just going to go and grab another support. That's going to be a Rubik. Now, Rubik and Bane can function very effectively in an offensive tri-lane, so with their two supports out front, TongFu's not going to feel totally comfortable assuming one way or the other. What we know about TongFu is they are not afraid to do unorthodox things like, well, it's not really unorthodox, more to the point, unexpected. Like decide to go ahead and switch a Nyx Assassin into mid whenever the Dragon Knight would seem to be the obvious mid here. Now, Liquid, like most teams, is really up and down in how they choose to run their lineups. And so far as like the Bat Rider, that's a hero they could very easily put into the off lane. That's a hero they could very easily just decide to go ahead and send mid without a second thought. So very ambiguous on their side. And I think I hear my casting partner has rejoined us. Draskell, you on the mic, brother?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank God.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the early start, so I got here and I'm like, wait, what the heck? Because I was expecting it to start on time, but I guess Valve decided that we'd start the last series.
I seriously had just walked in the door when the game started, so it didn't just happen to you. Like literally as the draft screen popped up, I saw the screen because I had walked outside just to take a breath of fresh air. So welcome back.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Sorry for missing the first, I guess, better half of the draft, but for this matchup, we saw last
Team
LGD versus Dignitas, and we were like, probably not going to have much of a chance against Dignitas, and it's going to be a run over. But now I can't really say that because, well, honestly, anything can happen after seeing that kind of a matchup. So I have full faith that Team Liquid could possibly take a game off TongFu, maybe even go 2-0. I think that we've kind of learned our lesson. Maybe underestimating teams isn't the best idea on pretty much the biggest stage in the world for pretty much any game period in terms of prize pool and prestige, I guess you could say. So looking forward to this. Just looking over the draft really quick, you can see that TongFu, they've gone with the patented Lifestealer Dragon Knight, so obviously got some push potential there with an Enchantress rather than getting a Chen. So I do like the fact that Team Liquid decided to ban that out. And of course, they have the Bane, which is very common with the Bat Rider. Great counters to Lifestealer. They feel a little bit thin, though, in the physical damage department as it stands right now. They obviously don't have a carry. And they do have one support, actually two, excuse me. They also have the Bane. So I guess they're looking for either a mid, an offlaner, and a potential carry. But the one thing that kind of stands out to me is that Liquid are probably not going to do so well in the late game, given right now. Of course, we haven't seen their carry. And wow, they're actually going to pick up an Ursa.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, when you don't have physical damage, bears are pretty good at doing some physical damage. And they also have 2 or 3 fantastic heroes holding people still. And honestly, they only have 2 disables right now between the Nyx and the DK.
Yep, and yeah, I actually, as unorthodox as that is, first of all, anytime you see an Ursa pick, you got to be happy. Like, it's impossible to look at that and be like, that's a bad pick. I don't care if it's not a smart pick, it's an awesome pick because it happens to be an Ursa warrior. But that aside, my fondness for bears aside, I'm with you, though. It's like when I look at TongFu, especially every hero that TongFu has right now can do damage in a set amount of ways and do a lot of it. Enchantress with impetus damage if she's able to stay at good range. Nyx Assassin, obviously, with his single target, blow your face up. And entire skill set. Dragon Knight, of course, carried a bit by the strength of Breathe Fire, then especially once he gets level 2, level 3 Elder Dragon form, his AoE potential goes way up, and Lifestealer, arguably the best single target physical DPS dealing hero in the entire game. So everyone on TongFu is going to have a chance to do damage. Right now, Liquid is really kind of all in on a few things. They're really all in on the idea of Bane being able to properly lock down one, if not two, of Lifestealer and Dragonite, maybe get an Enfeeble off on the DK, then try to lock the Lifestealer with Fiend's Grip, so on and so forth. And Ursa, as good as the hero is and as much damage as he can put out, there's only so much mileage you can reliably get out of Overpower, especially coming down the stretch. Once you get into the late game, heroes like Lifestealer and Dragonite just tend to feel better and function a bit better. And now with TongFu adding very nice counter initiation, a very nice way to lock the Ursa down in their own right. It's Liquid. I mean, this is a Liquid-esque lineup. This is something Liquid that I could easily envision Liquid running, but the ease of execution is not going to be the high. It's not going to be the easiest for them, but the need for execution is going to be ultra high.
Absolutely. If they don't perform with this kind of a team, they're never going to not be behind.
Yep.
That's such a hard team to play from behind. Ursa is a hero who is very snowball-oriented, and they're just going to go Viper afterwards. Okay, so I wasn't expecting the Ursa pick.
Yep.
I can honestly say that I probably wasn't expecting to see that hero, but seeing a Viper after the fact, that is absolute insanity. So that's definitely the mech carrier. I mean, Viper with a mech is something that Aoi 2000 himself does. And, of course, TC, I believe, had done it in the past as well. It just gives you some more viability of being able to actually survive these early game pushes, which I'm sure TongFu are going to try to mount here. So it's going to be like the war of attrition again. Can you survive the early game? Can you weather the storm into, does our Ursa and Viper have enough farm to even do enough damage to take us to the late game? That's the one worry that I have right now. And a lot of this also is going to be reliant on Boba playing on that Batrider. So I'm excited to see another North American team versus another Chinese team. Hopefully we can take another win here for the team. But I think TongFu's draft, if I'm just speaking bluntly, I kind of favor theirs a little bit more.
Yeah, it's you mentioned do enough damage to take you to the late game. I don't think that's an option. I just really don't. When you look at the lineup that TongFu has, it's just so very well balanced, and it's a lineup that can get damage out of a variety of sources. It's not as if they're all in on one or two heroes. And going to the late game, especially with a hero like a DK who only gets better as the game goes later, so long as he's at least moderately on par with his farm, it's just, and you know, I was saying before you got back, this is honestly a game when I look at Liquid's lineup, I could see the DK just going straight Shadow Blade and even skipping a BKB just because they've already got two heroes that can lock him down through Magic Immunity to begin with. The Lasso from the Batrider and of course Fiend's Grip from the Bane. So this is going to be a game where I think the tail of the tape is going to be how well Liquid can position themselves to not allow TongFu to line their cannons up, so to speak. Not allow them to get into a position where they're going to be able to fire all forward guns. If that happens, I just can't see this Liquid lineup being able to stand up to it. We're going to see a nightmare on Sansheng. They're thinking about it. Their sticky napalm caught a few. That was removed by Banana. Now they're going to try to fight it out. Sansheng's in trouble. He will be our first blood. Now Korok down below half health. They're going to try to get a return, and they will. Might cost them one in the Lifestealer. Hal will be traded away as well. And now the route's on as Liquid, feeling very confident and justifiably so about their level 1 team fight. They're not done. There's going to be a Dragon Tail to try to bail out Banana. And it will, as he turns the corner now, moves the target. He's got 4 right on his hip. Telekinesis brings him back. That's going to be another death and makes it 3-1. Team Liquid says, we're not worried about the late game, Draskell. We got the early game on lockdown.
Yeah, that was pretty much the best case scenario. I mean, getting a 3-for-1, I think they'll take it, even though they did lose Korok, who's one of the more important heroes for their lineup right now. I'm pretty sure they're going to be pleased with the results of that first engagement, especially considering the fact that the kills, one of them went to the Batrider, so he was much closer to the Blink. Another one went to the other carry. Fluff is the only person who isn't like a core of the team who actually got a kill. Not even to say that that's a horrible thing. It's just a little bit nicer. And now, Hao is going to be laning against a tri-lane of Liquid, which he's not going to be too pleased about. And even if it's a tri-lane versus a tri-lane, which at best it's going to be a dual lane with a jungler versus a tri-lane, Ursa completely demolishes Lifestealer throughout the early mid-game. You're just never going to be able to sit there and trade with him because of the overpower and the Furious Swipes combination. At best, they're going to be able to come down here and cause some havoc with a couple of Enchantress creeps, but that's about it. They're going to have to find other venues to try to make something happen in the early game. It's probably going to be ganking mid, but how are they going to gank TC if Mu can't get close enough to stun?
Down here, Hal trying to soak up whatever he can. We see the rotation of San Shing, who found himself at Invis Rune. 1 point already placed in the Impale. Not a single point of experience to his name quite yet. Now he's soaked up a little. TC, level 3 already. San Shing trying to get into position, hoping TC will come a little too far forward. Coming right up to the edge of it. And now Banana's there as well. There's the Impale to lead it off. He's going to have Enchant to slow him down. Moo there, has a Dragon Tail if he can catch him. Got hung up on the creeps. Hung up on the creeps, and San Shing's going to take tower shots and end up dead. Liquid not only managing to avoid the gank attempt, but able to get a return kill with some fortuitous tower targeting. And down at bottom, they might try to catch it up. Never mind. I was going to say Hal was almost in range of telekinesis, but this is about as good an early game as Liquid could have possibly hoped to have.
Dem boots, man. That was pretty much the only way he was able to get away from that, because Viper is incredibly slow, and oh man, bottom, how?
He's got rage if he wants it. Nope, Nightmare's there. Korok already spent his overpower, gonna have it back up in 2 seconds, and another kill. Liquid makes it 5-1 against the team that we have seen be dominant all day already. And Liquid on American soil, looking to repeat the success of Dignitas fighting the East versus West battle and doing a hell of a good job with 6 kills, 5 of which belong to them in less than 3 minutes.
This is unbelievable. I mean, if you look at top lane, it's a Batrider versus a Beastmaster, so the Batrider clearly has the advantage. In middle, it's Viper versus DK, so Viper has the advantage there as well. But given the fact that they traded a 1-for-3 before the creeps even spawned and they're winning all 3 lanes on top of that, TongFu really don't have a leg to stand on right now. They're even using the Enchantress to offensively jungle because the only person that they can even reliably kill if they get a gank attempt is TC. And TC already has his bottle, he has boots, and he's got another 700 gold, so he can tank up if need be. And he is going to get netted here, so he might be in some trouble.
There's the enchant to follow it, open wounds right afterward. There's an entire gang of them, 4 finally moving in. Here comes Fluff, going to try to stop it. Not going to be able to do so. Fluff trying to bail his buddy out, the reaction a little too slow, but I mean, what can you do? If they're willing to send 4 heroes to your mid lane to gank at 3.5 minutes out of nothing but desperation to make something happen and maybe get one of these lanes back under control, sometimes you just got to say, hey, that was 4 of them. It was 4-on-1. It was not fair. Stick a Brassers logo on it.
Yeah, that was some serious hate towards the Snake man in the middle lane. But this entire time, it's Korok soloing bottom lane versus Hal. And again, Ursa is really good against that hero. He can just turn around and trade with you like the best of them. You're never really going to get more life back from him than he's going to take from you. And of course, Beastmaster is pretty much in the same shoes in his matchup in the top lane. Although San Shing and Banana are continuing to move, there's no real vision on this side of the map. The closest spot that they have warded is the top rune spot, but it's on the side of the river where basically it's right next to mid. So they can't see that far up, and yeah, I think Bulba might be dying here too.
Bulba gonna be axed and shot down as Nyx Assassin with one little click of the pincers manages to add another kill to his total. 3-5, TongFu showing signs of life, and really it's so important that they do this. I mean, whenever you have that heroic start, it is so easy to just sit back and look at Hal just being chewed on by a bear. But it is so easy to sit back and just get into this losing mindset, like we're behind, we're going to have to make mistakes, we can't do this. And instead, they're just doing what they can, which is move their supports, find targets of opportunity, and capitalize on those opportunities, and keeping the game well under control.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Well, those kills are definitely big, but let's also keep in mind we're looking at the last hits and denies right now. 31-6 comparative to 7.
Yeah.
I mean, kills are great, but if we're talking about kills in terms of gold, it's only about 5 or 6 creep kills for a kill. That's not a streak.
Right.
So I think Liquid are more than okay with the fact that they might have lost 2 heroes a little bit after the initial skirmishes. So as long as they don't let it keep happening, TongFu are still not really going to be able to gather that much momentum. And heroes like Enchantress and Nyx is level 2. So he needs to get level 6 at some point, which probably is not going to happen. When you're looking at the supports of Liquid, they're not really that high level either, but Rubik isn't being relied upon as much to make something happen as San Shing is on that Nyx Assassin, and of course Banana as well, who is also heading towards the bottom lane right now for Korok.
Korok left all by himself. Doesn't have a lot of mana. Does have enough for 1 Earth Shock. Does have his phase boots, however. Don't think it's going to matter. Open wounds is there. Even getting the whirlwind involved. Impale to follow it up. Bear's pretty tanky. He's just going to turn and start chewing on someone. Realizing he's dead, wants a bite to eat as a last meal. Unfortunately, got kited out. Spins the Earth Shock. That took a lot of effort. That's these 3 heroes jump on him. He's just turning, swinging. Just swinging those elbows. But unable to find someone to take with him. Looks like the DK did die again in mid while that was going on, however. So not a bad trade, all things considered, bringing him down, at least getting something accomplished elsewhere in the meantime.
Yeah, as long as you're not losing something for nothing, Liquid are going to be more than fine with losing one hero, especially your off-lane Ursa, which is crazy as it sounds, is doing like the best in the game in terms of overall farm. And this is a lot of time that TongFu are using in bottom lane. Looks like How very close to death.
Hang on, he's not out of the woods yet. That bear's got boots. And the Knicks trying to body block him. He doesn't have enough for Impale. Korok, eyes bigger than your stomach, son. Manages to chase him down. And now he's not done. Oh, I thought he was going to dive Sanshing down below the tower as well. Korok is not just playing a bear in one sense. He's role-playing that bear. And they are going to get a kill as well up at top. So getting the Beastmaster along with the Lifestealer make it 8-4. They're doubling up their enemy.
And bottom lane, they're going to be able to get Sanshing too.
Sanshing.
Oh, maybe not.
Up. Re-engagement. There's an Earthshock spin. Korok taking through the damage remarkably well. Mike's there, has a Nightmare, will use it. And that Korok is a hustling. Hopping around, seeing a phase boost bear move like that. The only thing funnier than that is a hasted lone druid. But anyway, Liquid able to get away relatively, if not unscathed, at least still breathing.
Yeah, that's always a benefit. Man, bears are just so fast. That's really the problem. It's not really anything else. The bears can chase you till the end of time. The base movement speed difference between the Ursa and the Lifestealer when he has phase on is, I think, give or take 60 or so, which is pretty much the difference between having boots and not having boots at all, or actually more. And another smoke up here from TongFu. They're going to try to do a wraparound here on middle, potentially catch out TC, who is, by the way, going for the mech. He's actually just decided to buy his Belt of Strength before he finishes up the mech in general. And Blink already finished the Batrider.
TC dead to rights. More Snake Love hate, and that Impale actually got Mike. Here comes Korok, though. Korok and Earthshock, and now trying to clean house. Look at that. 2 turned around, and they're not done yet. King J eats another Earthshock, forced to use his wand charges. Not enough mana on the Bane to do anything. And this is what it's like when an Ursa gets ahead. We were joking about the hero and how it's like, yes, he's not going to out-carry the carries of TongFu in the late game, but again, not interested in the late game. They want to win right now, and they're off to a phenomenal start to do so. 11-5, and every time TongFu takes a step forward, there's a bear waiting to shove them right back on their ass.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that the roaming level 8 bear would be so powerful? I mean, he teleports in middle lane, he gets 2 kills. Bottom, looks like How might be dropping here too.
Liquid is just on point with their movement. Fluff and Stuff might end up being traded away here. Nice flame break is, yes, it is enough. Fluff and Stuff bailed out by the well-placed flame break. Bulba having a phenomenal game. Very fast Blink Dagger coming out of that one-on-one situation. Now beginning to be a force across the map in toto. 10 minutes in. I popped it up a second ago. Pop it back up. About 4,000 gold lead at 10 minutes in is not too shabby at all. The experience even larger, coming up on 7,500 in favor of the North Americans.
This is, like, unbelievable. I couldn't believe that TongFu committed that heavily to a level 1 fight with those heroes because they had an Enchantress who is, like, one of the worst level 1 heroes. It's kind of like a creep. You can either slow somebody, but before the creeps in the jungle actually spawn, you can't get anything useful.
Right.
So they actually kept fighting when they could have just ran away, left the person that was nightmared, forfeited the fact that they were going to give away First Blood and be fine. But they fought against a Batrider who got insane sticky napalm stacks. Actually almost killed 4. I think the Enchantress herself lived with like 1 hit left. So this game is completely spiraled out of control if you're TongFu. They managed to get a couple of kills by moving around the map, but when you're moving so much, even if you're getting kills, they're going from one side of the map to the other,
right,
and they're not really getting any farm in the process. And bottom lane, Banana is farming the lane because no one else is down here, and Fluff and IX Mike, they want to try to make something happen here, but there's no tier 1. So if they want to try to get a kill, they're going to have to do it themselves.
There's the telekinesis. Mike's right there. Fiend's Grip right after. Damage is being done. And there you go. Banana cleaned up quick, fast, in a hurry. In the meantime, TongFu will capitalize on a free and open tower. The bear can do nothing but pace, so he has no assistance. 11 minutes in, this game already kind of getting bonkers. 18 kills already on the board, and I don't think it's going to slow down. Neither of these teams really drafted a composition that at this stage, whenever things just start going this crazy, really can't afford to slow down.
Yeah, and I just want to point out really quick for anybody who didn't notice, the enchant was stolen by Fluff and stuff because that Centaur Stomp was going to stop the grip, and he stole the Centaur and then stopped the Enchantress with her old friend, which of course now belongs to the graveyard because it died, but for some time it belonged to Liquid. But TongFu, they group up here top with 5. They're just going to try to push into the tier 1, and I think they're going to be able to get this pretty much no contention, no glyph coming out from Liquid either, so I want to see if Liquid decide to try to push the tier 1 themselves, or if they just want to kill Roshan, which is also a definite possibility.
Korok sneaks his way in with Bulba. Both of them were smoked. Don't think they were spotted moving in. And in the meantime, TongFu testing the waters, pushing in the tier 2, perhaps trying to bait something out, one hero reaction, that kind of thing. Actually, Lifestealer just managed to clean up Rubik. The Roshan, in the meantime, though, gonna be going the way of Liquid. 12-minute Roshan and an Aegis in that already bold Bear's back pocket.
Man, this is so scary for TongFu. Like, how are they going to come back from this? Normally, Lifestealer is that hero that you rely on so much during like the 10 to 25 minute period because of how strong he actually is. But against an Ursa, he just doesn't do anything.
Yep.
Like, he can't go in ever. Because as soon as the Ursa goes in, he's either going to get lassoed and then hit by a bear, or he's going to get Phoenix Gripped and he's going to get hit by a bear, or he's going to get hit by the Viper Strike, and then get hit by a bear. Pretty much no matter what, there's going to be a bear, and he's going to be sad. So, it's going to be up to TongFu to pretty much disable Korok really, really hard during these engagements. Otherwise, Hao is going to be completely ineffective for quite some time.
Tell you what's worse, that bear is soon going to be swinging a bar, the Black King's bar. He's already got his Ogre Club up, and yeah, you can see he picked up his Ring of Regen, just deciding instead to go ahead and go straight BKB. That BKB's up, there's just no way to kite him anymore. There's just nothing you can do. It's going to be, I mean, you're going to be relying on the Beastmaster to walk him down, and the one weakness of the hero is going to demand that your big counter initiation be spent just to keep your Lifestealer, to quote a wise man I once knew, from getting hit by a bear. Just not something that you want to be forced into doing if you can help it, but Liquid certainly not backing off. Just moving, and their movement is actually frantic. There are games whenever you watch, the movement's kind of predictable, but they are just kind of moving anywhere they please, and nothing TongFu can do is stopping it.
Yeah, especially after losing the tier 1, I would imagine that Liquid's next goal is going to be pushing into the rest of the tier 1s. Maybe they want to go top. Oh, and the jungle, IX Mike.
Roar spent. Just walked into the wrong part of the town, and the Invis allowed him to get the jump on him. So 7-13. TongFu again down, but not out by any stretch. They actually have made up some difference. It's been cut kind of back down to how far around or how far away it was, but now TongFu not looking. This is something TongFu does well, and we've seen them do all day long. Is just take a situation where they're behind and just not let it phase them. Continue to make good decisions. Continue to play aggressive where they can. And San Shing, along with his passenger, looking to find a target. TC, lucky for him, managed to clear out of that ancient, that dire side secret shop just in time.
Well, Liquid needs to be... They can be confident, but they can't be too overconfident. Because the late game, Ursa does fall off, and he doesn't really have that same threat of just instantly killing one of your heroes as he does right now. So as soon as they get the BKB on Korok, I would really like to see them at least go bottom tier 1 and kill that, since it's already below half. They can go top if they want to, get some map control, get a legitimate control over the map in general, so TongFu don't have any breathing room. Because if TongFu have breathing room, there's always a chance for them to come back. So as good as Team Liquid have been doing during the early game and the lead that they've actually built, TongFu are starting to actually pull it back a bit. They're getting caught up a tiny bit on the experience in gold. And Ursa, by the way, skips the BKB. He says, you know what? I want mobility. I'm buying a Force Staff.
Gotta love that. Hanging on to the Ogre Club. Putting that Ring of Regen to very good use. TongFu threatened that tier 2 bottom, but thought better of it. And I'm a little surprised like you are. I mean, I'm surprised, like Liquid for about 5-6 minutes there was just everywhere on the map at once. They were TPing, they were running, they were having miniature smoke ganks. They were doing everything they could to just pressure TongFu. Now they're beginning to fall back to their side of the map and kind of stay there. They're looking to try and catch someone out in their own jungle here and there. And now they have 3 that are perhaps eyeing this bottom tier 1. But this is, we talked about this lineup. As much as we were joking about, the Bear not caring about the late game, well, if it gets to be 40 minutes, the Bear has to care about the late game. And they need to keep the pressure up. They don't need to allow TongFu any excuse to just sit back and farm. And now this tier 1 bottom, already quite low, will not even be defended. No, actually, I checked that. They're going to glyph it just to buy time as they push down the tier 2. If they can make this a tier 1 for tier 2 trade, it'll certainly be acceptable to them. And no TP reaction yet. Doesn't look like they're too worried about TongFu at the moment, though.
Well, this is why I was wanting Liquid to push, is because the fact of the matter is, TongFu can't fight Liquid right now. They're too strong. So they're just going wherever they can, kind of running around the map looking for things that they can hit until Liquid actually respond to it. And instead of TPing to the top tier 1, they're going to go ahead and TP to mid and just walk up there because there's no vision. The Hawk will only spot 2 people because the other 2 currently are smoked. So if they want to try to initiate here, King J has a haste. Oh man, are they going to be able to catch out?
Here we go, trying to chase him down. Liquid unable to find a target in the lane or in the woods. So TongFu so far, guerrilla tactics, managing to work out for them at least somewhat, but TC able to get the deny.
And I mean, losing the tier 2 in your safe lane is still a bit of a bummer if you're Liquid, but you can tell TongFu's playstyle is not indicative of an aggressive team. It's just a team that wants to be able to get something while Liquid is pushing down your other tier 1s. So right now, TongFu I still feel are using the map more effectively, which is why they're not just getting completely overrun right now, which of course is due to their experience, and of course TongFu is a monstrous team who, correct me if I'm wrong, but they haven't lost a best of 2 today, I don't think, to anyone. So they are showing why, right now, their resilience and not just kind of collapsing under Liquid's early game lead. And again, Liquid, they're not in bad shape, it's just that they're giving away towers for pretty much no reason. Like, they're giving away a tier 2 mid for a tier 1 in an off lane that doesn't really matter that much, and they're going to lose their tier 2 bottom lane before this tier 1 even dies. So Liquid not making the best exchanges right now, and they need to be really careful about this, because if you give TongFu an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Absolutely. And we saw them do this earlier. Like, that's not even conjecture. It's something we've seen them do already today. In 2 games in particular, they were playing from behind from the very beginning. And it was a situation just like this, where they just managed to hang around and hang around and hang around. Then all of a sudden they take 2 team fights in a row, Shan. The gold graph completely flips on its head, and you wonder what the hell happened. It's just they're so good at just hanging around. We're 18 minutes in. We got 20 kills on the board. Things have slowed up a little bit. It's become a lot of just tower and building demolition. The gold graph is beginning to head northward a bit once again. They've cut it down just about in half to 3,000. The experience has leveled out. And quite a decent experience lead it is, as they sit at about plus 6,500, give or take. But yeah, I think I share the same concerns you do. And you begin to look at the items that they're beginning to put together. The armlet now done, 1,900 gold on top of that armlet for Hal. If they can catch him out here, it would certainly be a nice way to capitalize on their lead. BKB done on the Ursa in the meantime. IX Mike sitting in the woods. And Banana's over there as well. And Mike's just going to go ahead and TP out. Fluff going to blink out, showing off that dagger. 2 blink daggers and a force staff between himself and Bulba. But yeah, you start to look at the items that they're beginning to put together. You've got the mechanism up on the Beastmaster. You've got, depending on what Sanshing wants to do with that Staff of Wizardry, could be, or well, most certainly will be with the Ring of Regen, a force staff, so he'll have some mobility. You've got the Urn and a little bit of survivability with the point booster already built on the Enchantress, and DK did skip that BKB, or at least delay it, picking up the Shadow Blade. So TongFu's items are coming in.
And now TongFu aren't feeling as squeamish as they were earlier, because, as you said, they actually have some items to fight with. And the interesting thing is TC went for a mech, but he hasn't used it once in fights because he's never really been at the fights. So if you're making a hero buy a mech and you're not fighting with him, why is the hero buying a mech and not harder to carry items?
Right.
That's kind of the question that I have, because it seems like really straightforward logic. It's, if you're going to buy a team fight item, team fight with it, don't farm. Because they could have easily taken the tier 2 mid, the tier 2 bottom lane. They got the Roshan, which is definitely nice. But in that time, they gave TongFu 3 tier 2 towers back to back for 1 tier 1 in an off lane.
Exactly.
Like, that's a horrendous trade. And they could have very easily just forced it as 5 and made TongFu react, otherwise they were going to crack the base or something similar. So I'm not really entirely sure about Liquid's game plan so far. They don't really seem to have a clear objective as to what they want to accomplish, and they're just wasting even more time right now. Like, they just have 4 people running around top, not really able to do a whole lot of anything. Whereas TongFu, they have a lot more of the map to farm now. Before they were running around as like 3 to 5 heroes and not really being that efficient, but now they're feeling more confident. They're split up, they're all individually getting their own farm. Moo's sitting here in mid, near where the tier 2 used to be, and pretty much all's well on TongFu's front.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. When you look at the goal graph, their Liquid's lead is the smallest it has been since about 5 minutes into this game. And they have just kind of allowed it to be given back. And like you said, some unwise trades regarding towers and secondary objectives and so on, certainly not helping their cause. But I don't know. Like, I feel like they were in such a phenomenal position, and it's almost like they got gun shy about it. They were doing such a good job about it, just bouncing around. Again, the roaming level 8 bear, which is going to be the name of my next indie band. But yeah, I mean, it was working out, just moving around, putting pressure on TongFu, making them feel frantic and squeamish, as you said, about trying to take a mass AoE team fight. And yeah, Liquid's getting items of their own, don't get me wrong. Not trying to count them out by any stretch. But their ability to just walk up to a tower and run over TongFu has diminished significantly.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. Especially the Lifestealer is the biggest deal in terms of what items he gets. Because when he gets a Halberd, even though the Ursa has a BKB, it's still evasion. It's still the opportunity to not just get gibbed by the burst damage, which is what you're looking for. So Liquid, they have the rush timer down, which is definitely nice. And thank God TongFu can't take any more towers, because it would have taken like 3 more in the time it takes them to kill Roshan. So it's really nice that Liquid is going to be able to get this pretty much for free, and maybe this is the extra little inch that they needed to actually go for a tier 2 tower here. TC is going to have enough for his Aghanims, if that's going to be the item choice he wants to make, and yeah, he does just complete it right there, which is another great utility item and initiation tool that you can use, because once you get the Aghanims on Viper Strike, the range goes up to something ridiculous, like 12 or like 18 billion or something like that, and you can use it as a way to just start fights.
Vlad's now done on that Ursa. Yeah, he Scepter up on the Viper as well, as you had mentioned. And but the thing is, like, look at TongFu's positioning. They're the ones who are definitely feeling more aggressive. They've got 3 heroes on the other side of the river, just looking to start a fight, using the enemy's jungle while freeing up the jungle for their own carry. Gem going to be picked up by Bane now, so Liquid going to try to fight a vision battle. And Nyx Assassin, again with that Force Staff up, his mobility. And really, they are kind of reliant on that Nyx Assassin to get off at least a 2-man impale whenever he can. I mean, they have a fair amount of lockdown between Dragon Tail, between the Roar, and Open Wounds, which is not a stun, but is very much a, poo yourself and go running away, run away from the scary dude with big teeth kind of an ability. But to really be able to chain together these big chains of initiation that they want and need, where they can just blow 2 or 3 heroes up before the Ursa can really get in range to do damage, they're going to be needing really good positioning and really well-shot impales out of San Shing. So 24 minutes in, finds himself an invis, but so far both teams just kind of hanging out and waiting in the river.
I just hope that Liquid doesn't play this so passively to the point where they just let TongFu fully recover, because they are still ahead in the sense that their team composition is still strong. It's only 24 minutes in, so it's not like the Lifestealer or the DK have a full inventory. The Ursa's damage is still threatening. It's still very, very threatening. So with your Aegis, kill some towers, please. I'm like asking you to go kill some towers, because you're playing this so passive that you're giving TongFu way too much room.
Yeah, I feel the same. And it's not like they don't have tools. It's not like they're only able to do it because they have an Ursa with an Aegis. They have a phenomenal team to be executing and doing nice amounts of damage at this stage of the game. And really, when you look at it, there are a lot of nice abilities for the Rubik to steal as well. Fluff, if he can manage to grab Roar, if he can manage to grab Impale, if he can even manage to grab nothing but Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail's a really nice single target stun. And at this stage, those abilities are really feeling quite strong. But instead, both teams just kind of dancing around, really. They're kind of scratching the dirt and pawing at each other, but no one's willing to take their trousers off first.
Yeah, I'm hesitant about this game now. I really want Liquid to do well, because obviously it would be exciting to see competition. I mean, TongFu getting taken out by a North American team, and then LGD getting taken out by another American team. That would be like huge upsets. In the bottom lane, we're going to see TC getting caught here, but he's just so tanky that there's really not a whole lot they can do about it. Oh, nice stun by Fluff.
How? Now going to be the next one, and Fluff, as you said, with a great stun. TC waiting patiently on his buddies to show up. And now maybe they'll wake up. They'll realize just how damn strong their team is. And like you said, TC, just so stupidly tanky. 1600 HP with 21 armor on him whenever he's in the aura of the Vlads. Just so damn hard to kill. He's like, yeah, he's like Steven Seagal, hard to kill. But like I feel like we're just watching there is going to be a gigantic string of team fights coming up at some point. Because what's going to happen is one of these teams is finally going to commit. One team will probably, they'll end up with a medium-sized trade, and then it should just be going bonkers about the time Roche respawns. For now, they do have another 2 minutes on that Aegis. And the BKB still sitting at 10 seconds. So Liquid about as well equipped as they need to be, just waiting on them to pull the trigger.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, I think now might be the time they're feeling a bit more confident. I think it took TC getting ganked by a Lifestealer and the Nyx Assassin and not even getting close to dying to make them realize how strong their team actually is right now.
Right.
So thank God that TongFu were there to remind them that they're actually still significantly ahead in terms of team composition. They're going to get the tier 2 mid for free, basically. If they want to, they can rotate bottom and go for that next. I don't think that staying mid is really the right call here, just because there's more free gold and map control to be had elsewhere. And of course it would force Banana to eventually just go back to base. And this is the position that you want TongFu in. You want them sitting inside of their base. And alright, so they just want to go for it.
Here we go. There's the lasso onto the Nyx Assassin. Korok's there, waiting with loving arms. Fluff and Stuff takes the kill. Korok's on the hunt. Looking to lock someone down, open wounds, allowing Korok to be kited. Still has to use his BKB, just going to allow his Aegis to pop, of course, before he does. And he almost wants to. Now he's going to jump on out. The roar was there, but not before the Lifestealer was chewed to pieces. Now it was stolen by Fluff. Fluff, showing off pipes of his own. Gets the kill. The buyback from Beastmaster doesn't matter. Liquid is just finally discovering the strength they've had for quite some time. Korok still with the BKB charge left if he wants to use it. Moo's actually been spotted out now. And just look at him melt despite how naturally tanky a DK is. And another buyback. That makes 3, if not 4, in a row from TongFu. Just doing anything they can to keep this game alive. But that basically means they are out of second chances. They have to somehow find a way to deal with this composition of Liquid and how far ahead they've made themselves. Or they're just gonna, that's too much gold to sacrifice. Too many heroes just gave up too much gold for them to really have a chance, unless they do something big and they do it real soon.
Yeah, I mean, especially the DK buying back was like the nail in the coffin. The Beastmaster would have been bad enough, but everyone died there for TongFu, right? It's a 13 kill lead right now for Liquid, so they're definitely doing a good job of staying ahead now. I didn't think they would commit that hard. They were playing very squeamish, and they knew that the entirety of TongFu would be up by the time they got to the tier 3 tower. They just said, you know what, we're done waiting. We're just going to go now. And Korok actually picks up a Blink Dagger even after the Force Staff already. So not only can he get himself in, but he also has a retreat method as well. His damage output is not that crazy. Like, he's not going the full damage build. He's going the I just want to make sure I can hit something build, which I believe is probably the right call in the situation. And Moo is running around in the woods here on Team Liquid's side with a Lifestealer inside of him, hopefully for his sake trying to find somebody to gank, but he's going to come up a little bit short. So now that Liquid have regrouped back on their side of the map, I still would like to see them just go and push into the tier 2, either in the top lane or the bottom lane. Just get that little bit of extra gold, get the map control, make TongFu go back. Don't let them sit on your side of the map, and certainly don't give them any more room than you have to.
Trying to chase down Moo. Do they have any vision? They don't. Do they have a gem? Seems like they did. Seems like they grabbed one. And Moo's going to reinitiate on the Korok. Now realizing there's going to be someone there to help out. Hal going to infest out, but the lasso's there, and Moo being chewed to death. Got off a little breathe fire before he bit the dust, but not even that's not doing much damage worth mentioning. 21-7, Liquid now tripling up the competition, and we're going to see San Shing spotted by TC down here in mid. King there to try and help his buddy out, but able to make it away courtesy of Carapace. But you look at the goal graph, and yeah, this is why we were harping for 10 straight minutes about how it was just weird that they were not wanting to fight. They've started to fight over about the last 5, and they have tripled the gold lead that they had amassed, almost quadrupled it after it had been cut down to 2,500, now very near 5 digits.
Yeah, I mean, this is the stage in the game where Liquid, they've pretty much reached their peak.
Yep.
Their Ursa has all the mobility items he's going to need. He's 27 experience away from level 16, which means he's going to have the most damage coming out of Enrage. And this is Liquid's time. This is where they can push the base.
Here we go. Tier 3 being whittled down, only TC's doing damage to it. Dancing and hitting it with right clicks. The rest of TongFu trying to find positioning, trying to prepare for the storm. BKB goes off. Didn't even see who it was. It was Bulba, who was lassoing now. King back, there's the roar off of it. That was actually Fluff who roared there. Hal getting chewed to pieces. There was a lot of dodging there, actually, and he did manage to survive a little longer than he might have otherwise, but in the end, he's chewed apart, and Korok is just going to dinner. Looking for a target, finding it with the Force Staff. That's a triple kill. Could be an Ultra by the time we're done. The GG comes out as the Ultra kill is amassed. And Team Liquid makes it 3 straight games of a North American squad defeating a favored Chinese squad. The International, indeed. 26-8, a complete rockhouse of Dota poured on to TongFu as they fall in 31 minutes. What a show. And I'll tell you what, man, must be something about the home cooking here in the States. These American teams are beginning to find their stride.
Yeah, and you know what's the funniest part about this game is that when we were in the draft phase, we saw 3 heroes. We saw the Rubik, the Bat, and the Bane. We're like, yeah, you know, this is pretty standard stuff. Bat Rider, good initiator. Oh, they picked Ursa. That's kind of weird. Oh, they picked Viper too. And that team won.
Oh, yeah.
So just goes to show you that there are heroes that actually can function outside of the normal, I guess if you want to call it meta, even though I technically hate that word. But still, congratulations to Liquid for taking game 1. This is the same thing it was for Dignitas to take 1 game off of LGD. The same thing can be said for Liquid. Anytime you can take 1 game off of a favorite in the preliminaries, it allows you to get a better seeding. And I believe that Liquid actually had just lost to Orange, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the other groups that we didn't get a chance to cast ourselves. So coming off of that into this and taking out one of the probably top 5 finishing teams, it's definitely something that they needed.
Could not agree more. They're going to look to repeat the success of their North American counterparts and blank their Chinese opponents. However, TongFu, they know how to play from behind in more ways than one. And tell you what, that's a team that if there's a team right now that we've seen today that I know has the fortitude to jump back in this and at least split the series, we're looking at them, and they are not from North America. So we'll find out if they're going to be up to the task. Going to be our last match of the night. Guys, don't worry. We got another full schedule coming at you tomorrow, and we'll cover that. Let you know what's going to be going on here on this stream, and I'm sure all of our other streaming counterparts will be doing the same. But settle in. Last match of the day on the way. I'm AC. That's Draskell, TongFu, and Team Liquid. Game 2 coming up next.